So what I want to speak today a little bit. Previously we discussed 5 aggregates subject to clinging, Panchupadana Khanda, and we start with Rupa and Vedana. Maybe some of you remember. So just today, I think it would be nice to touch the saññā, next aggregate subject to clinging. The word saññā usually translated as recognition or perception. So sometimes cognition also. So this is a common understanding that this is an aggregate subject to clinging, and usually people describe it as like I see flower and I perceive it as a flower. This kind of perception. So we today would try to go through some sutta references and see what kind of meaning of word saññā in different contexts we may find. So then what's the purpose of this explanation or like analysis in a way? Because next time whenever you see or you heard that someone say, okay, please see your saññā, see your perception, then you may understand what actually it means in broader context, what Buddha means in the kind of context of whole Dhamma. Because it's very important, it's a kind of essential to understand what to do. When teacher asks you what to do, you need to do something according to instruction, according to correct method. Yeah, then you get result. So if I just even don't know what is saññā and teacher told me, okay, please see the saññā, I mean, what I can do, yeah? I mean, I can do something, but would it be in line with the like Dhamma, with the teaching of the Buddha? So that's our purpose, to kind of clarify a little bit. And also another question, later during the talk I would ask you, but you may look out for this. Like we would see from how we can break our mental experience, because saññā is part of mental experience, yeah? How we can break it. We have a different kind of words in Buddhism, like Pali words for this. And the question is why? Like why we need to call these things differently, rather than just say, it's my mind, or it's my heart, or it's my soul, you know? So many. Okay, so just hold on this question a little bit. So the word saññā, it's come from verb saññāti. It's a Pali verb and means to perceive, to recognize. So the same kind of meaning. And morphologically, it comes from prefix sañ and root ñā. So prefix sañ means usually together or with. So that's usually meaning of this prefix. And the root ñā means know, to know. So literal meaning of saññā would be know together. So I know something together. What it means, we would come together. Because not always literal meaning exactly represent the meaning of the word. But it's still good to know to how this word can be perceived literally by the audience of the time, like Vedic Brahmanic culture. So something what we need to know together. Then in Mahāvedalla Sutta, we have a question and answer. And there, I think Venerable Sariputta, he gave an answer. Another monk asking, and the question was, saññā saññā, what does it mean? How I need to understand the saññā? And the answer is, because it's saññāti, because it perceives. So why it's perception? Because it perceives. So the question was the answer very kind of profound. Yeah? But then it continue, it perceives what? And it say it perceives blue, it perceives yellow, it perceives red, it perceives orange, and so on. So different colors. And here we can see a few things. Like one thing that it says it perceives. So it already implies some impersonal things. It's not that I perceive. Yeah, it just saññā arise, saññā disappear. It perceives. Yeah, it perceives what? And it speaks about simple concept. Because, for example, I see, and I see different colors, green, yellow, and so on, and I perceive it. Okay, this green, this yellow, and so on. A very good example in Milinda Pantha. It says, because Milinda Pantha is very famous for this kind of examples for clarifying something. And they're different, little bit different from exactly Buddha's examples, but still can be useful. So the example is like the storekeeper, you know, the person who take care about big storeroom, he enters the royal treasury, the royal storeroom, and he see many different objects with different colors, and he recognizes them. So what he do? He enter one thing, then he see, and then he recognize. And that's what we pay attention on recognition. It means it requires seeing. Yeah, without, in another way, without a contact, there will be no saññā. In some other sutta, we see that the reason for the saññā, it's a contact. So the contact with the object. And the same example with the treasury can be done here. Like I come here and I see many various clothes. Yeah, I see white clothes, like red clothes. I see there is a contact with the object and I recognize it. For this, of course, it would require me to, in a way, know what is red. Yeah, so some kind of memory, some kind of saññā what already inside my mind. Already I have some categories. I have a categories of green. Because green is not just one color, yeah? We know that green is a category what include a lot of colors like dark green, bright green, and so on. Not always when I see a green, I perceive it as a bright green. Most of the time I just perceive it as a green, like simple category. If I think deeply, of course, I may kind of identify. But initial recognition is kind of very simple. Green, yellow, like square, round. So simple shapes, simple colors, and so on. We need to remember that now we give us example material appearance. But the same thing is happening with ear consciousness. Yeah, there is a sound and I recognize it. Okay, there is a rain. So there is a, maybe in rain it would be more complex. I hear the splashing sounds. So this is a simple concept, splashing. Or thundering sounds, like something like really heavy. So this is a simple concept. Another aspect of the saññā, more complex ideas. Like in some other sutta, it says, one perceive water as water, fire as fire, wind as wind, and so on. So it means I may not only perceive it as a something liquid, but I perceive it as a water, as a kind of object. And then sutta continue, I perceive Deva as a Deva, Brahma as a Brahma. I mean, of course, not everyone can perceive Devas and Brahmas, but we can perceive people. And we can recognize, oh, this is John, oh, this is Frank, or whatever. So also we can perceive he's a monk, he's a layperson, he's a friend of mine. So this kind of, we would say, label. I would say very good also translation for word saññā, it's like labeling process. So I label things in my mind. And I not only label what I already know, I also create a saññā. Because, for example, like child, when he first time see some object, yeah, he doesn't know what is this. He cannot recognize, oh, it's a toy, or it's like Leon, or like any kind of toy. But he may start to create his saññā. He may start, okay, it shapes, you know, the children, they always touch and taste and do whatever, like interact with object. By this means, they create their saññā. Now, next time, if he sees similar object, he would remember, okay, this smells like this tastes like this, and he update his saññā. So we always create our saññā, update our saññā, and use our saññā. So, and whole this process, it's kind of a process of recognition. It's not just simple things that I see, like ceiling, and I perceive it as a ceiling. If you say just like this, you would limit usage of word saññā very little. But if we perceive all the process, updating saññā, creating saññā, and so on. Another aspect of the saññā, in another sutta it says like there are 4 kinds of saññā. And there is saññā of, there is a person who perceives limited things. There is a person who perceives like big things, great things. There is a person who perceives unlimited things, and there is a person who perceives like emptiness. We not go to these kind of perceptions, but long story short, saññā can compare. So we can compare limited things, big things, and immeasurable things. Saññā can compare. It's not only like recognize, okay, this is like this. It's compare this with some other object and can say, okay, this is smaller, this is like bigger, this is more yellow, this is more bright, and so on. So this kind of comparison, it's also quality of the saññā. And the last maybe aspect of the word saññā, It's a little bit different, but very close, but a little bit different. So in some suttas they say like there are kind of saññā which you need to develop and cultivate, and then by developing and cultivating you would gain some great benefit. So this is a kind of preambula. And then it says that first, perception of impermanence, anicca saññā. So recognition of impermanence. So it's a kind of seeing the object. You cannot see impermanence directly. Yeah, like I see on the object nothing I can call impermanent in this object. Only just by seeing change in the object I can use this concept or abstract idea. Okay, I see impermanence. So impermanence, it's an abstract concept what we may kind of derive from observation, from experience. We see change, we see, okay, things are impermanent. So another aspect, another saññā would be perception of non-self, of course. So also non-self, can you see non-self? Like where it is? It's also something, even if it would have existed, we cannot see it. So it's just an idea of, or concept, how we call things. Or how we call, like in this case of non-self, like something what cannot be identified, what don't have a substance. Just we see some quality, we see again things change, we see that we cannot control things, and then we can call, okay, things are non-self, things cannot be like taken as me or mine. Then it's a perception of, in the same sutta, perception of repulsiveness, asubha saññā. Again, it's when you see a person and the person is maybe ugly, it's not that you see some ugliness, yeah? It's just ugliness as a concept. You call him ugly because you compare him with other people. But if again, child say person, first time, the most ugliest person in the world, he would never call him ugly, yeah? He doesn't know what is ugly. And for him, it's just something to touch, to taste, you know, to recognize. So this is all a concept and so on. So other perception of repulsiveness in food, perceptions of dukkha. Here I want to say that the meaning of word saññā can be slightly different. Here it means like to have a, in a way, to have a specs, to have a glass of impermanence and see things as impermanence. So I see something in things and I recognize them as impermanence. So it's a kind of notion. It's a little bit different meaning of saññā, but very close, yeah? So kind of being able to recognize some quality of the object, what we may put in some category. Impermanence, non-self, blue, yellow, so any kind of category. Also maybe a very good way to describe the process of saññā, making saññā, it's creating categories and operating using these categories. To kind of summarize what we just discussed about saññā. So saññā meaning know together. So I know the object together and know what. So know simple concept like colors. Saññā can recognize simple concept. Saññā can recognize more complex concept like table or human being or deva. So this kind of thing. Then saññā can compare. So we can compare small things, big things. And then saññā can like recognize some abstract idea or like again like have some specs. I see things as impermanence, and it's also kind of saññā. And the last things, it's about the result of the saññā. In another sutta, it speaks about like what's the origin of the saññā, what's the like variation of the saññā, and so on. And here, interesting things. What's the result of the saññā? And it says, whatever one perceive, in that way, he break to speech, he speak, he communicate. And it's interesting, yeah, because whenever we speak, we cannot speak anything out of saññā, out of perception, out of kind of ideas and concepts. Because first I may hear this idea somewhere or read this idea. Then, of course, I thought about this and reflect, and now I speak about this. It's just almost impossible to speak something what never occur in your mind. At least I'm not aware that it's possible. now we come to the question why we do these kind of things. Why we try to break our experience. We try to recognize what is saññā. We try to make a difference between saññā and maybe feelings, yeah, what I feel and what I perceive. And we try to make to understand what next happening. Okay, there is a perception in the mind, and then there is a speech. It can happen. So again, why? What do you think? Why we need to break our experience? So, I mean, many reasons, of course. One reason can be to understand what's happening. Maybe put temporary some labels on it. Okay, this is perception, this is feelings, and so on. But it helps us to break the experience and to see that this experience are conditioned phenomena. This experience is not that I always have this ability to perceive things. Yeah, it just come. It's just gift by God or something like this. I mean, maybe it is a gift by God. Who knows? But this gift we may use by means of some cause and effects. So there's a cause, I see something. There's a contact with like visual object. Also cause that I saw some things before. I saw that there is a red, blue, and so on. I know, okay, there is a human being. It's not a devas around me. So I have some kind of categories. I mean, maybe some devas also here, but I cannot see them, unfortunately. But at least I know I don't see devas like devas. So this kind of conditioning is there. Like whenever in Satipatthana Sutta it says, the person knows saññā. So we need to keep in mind, it speaks about all these kind of things. And it's happening always in your mind, that I see things, I recognize them, I manipulate some ideas. Manipulation and intention, it's different things. We don't speak about this. But the object, what we may manipulate in our mind, it's just simple saññās, it's just simple ideas. Think about some, if person know many languages, think about some word, let's say, like table, simple word. You may know like the word table in Chinese, yeah, in English, in whatever, Bahasa, yeah, like, so, like many languages. And in your mind, there is an idea of table, it's kind of image, yeah? It doesn't have a name, it doesn't have, I mean, initially, it's just the image. And then you, in another part of your saññā, it's the names. So, okay, this table associated with this image. This name, like, let's say, Russian word stol, it's a Russian word for table. So it's also associated with the same image. All these kind of things, it's how saññā work. And then when it's kind of ripe and the time is correct, I break it into speech. When the time is right, I speak English. When the time is right, I speak Russian. But the images in my mind, the saññā, are the same. Yeah? If I want to speak about table, the image of the table would be the same. Long story short, if we want to follow the Satipatthana Sutta instruction, we need to see this process every single moment. Every single moment we can see how this saññā creates, how I call things in some way, how I modify my saññā. If I see, like, I saw 100 tables and I already create my ideas about tables. But then I see 101st time something new, you know, the table with a, I don't know, elephant legs or like anything, you know. And I see, okay, this also can be a table. So I update my saññā. And next time when I see something similar, I say, oh, okay, I saw a table. I know this is table already. And it kind of always happening. It's not only with children. It's happening with adult people as well. We update our saññā. Like my encouragement to all of us to really be able to recognize all these things. Every time. Recognize recognition. See, saññānati saññā. Yeah? Recognize recognition. So see and perceive how your perception operates in your mind. And if you can see the cause, why it's come? Because of the contact. Why it's come? Because of the memory. It's also very helpful. And then final goal of this, just to be kind of detached and disassociate. It's not just I control my saññā. Saññā just appear because of some causes and conditions. And again, we do all these things just to be happy, just to be free from suffering. So I wish all of you to be happy. Sadhu, sadhu.